We begin tonight with KARE 11 News investigation into allegations of gross mismanagement and secret lists at the Minneapolis VA that could potentially compromise the health of veterans. AJ Legault joins us now with the KARE 11 News exclusive.
Julie, fraudulent scheduling to hide massive delays in seeing patients at Veterans Affairs hospitals across the country has been headline news for months. But at the Minneapolis VA, whistleblowers tell us the very lives of veterans are being put at risk, just to make the hospital look good on paper.
I said that if we found misconduct, it would be punished, and I meant it.
As the secret waitlist scandal unfolded,
our veterans deserve better.
Local leaders assured people
there is no wait list to the best of anyone's knowledge in Minnesota.
It's not a problem here.
Have there been allegations or have you seen evidence of that here in Minneapolis?
No.
Patrick Kelly is the director of the VA Medical Center here in Minneapolis, one of the biggest and top-ranked VA hospitals in the entire country.
I am not aware, and I don't believe that there are any wait lists in use here in Minneapolis.
But some Minneapolis VA employees have a different story they say they need to tell.
And I have family members that are veterans, but they should know actually what's going on at the VA.
Until recently, these two women, Heather Rossback, a medical support assistant, and Letty Alonzo, a supervisor, both worked in the gastroenterology department at the Minneapolis VA, and they're not proud of what they say happened there.
I needed a job. I had to do what they told me.
You knew this was wrong?
Yes, I did.
Tonight, for the first time, they're speaking out.
And I feel like they need to be exposed for what's really going on.
Do you think lives were being put at risk?
Yes.
Yes.
The women tell us their gastroenterology department was in charge of scheduling colonoscopies to detect cancer and follow-up care if a doctor spotted problems. Important follow-ups too often delayed.
I caught one with bleeding 46 days with no action whatsoever taken.
Or even worse, they say care that was never even scheduled.
Some of them were getting missed altogether.
To keep evidence of delays in Minneapolis out of VISTA, the VA's official electronic record tracking system, the women claim a supervisor ordered them to keep a secret patient waiting list.
They had this list that they kept that was, kind of hidden.
Just so it couldn't be audited, it wouldn't even be in the system at all.
At first, their story may seem hard to believe, but when we started digging deeper, we discovered the exact same thing has been happening at VA centers across the country, sometimes with fatal results.
This is the Dorn Center in Columbia, South Carolina. The VA's Office of Inspector General investigated delays in care in the gastroenterology department there, including cases of malignancies. And this VA report from April this year found similar delays contributed to deaths at a dozen other VA facilities nationwide. In all, it says 23 patients have passed away.
You were directly instructed to cook the books?
Yes. Yes.
These whistleblowers in Minneapolis say the cover-up goes way beyond a secret wait time list. In their official report to the VA's Office of Inspector General, they claim they were actually ordered to falsify patient records, told to write down that veterans had refused treatment when they hadn't even been contacted.
Let's say right now you had a positive polyp. I would turn around and sometimes instructed by my manager say notified patient didn't want further treatment.
And that wouldn't be true?
No.
The patient wouldn't even know?
Nope. The patient's never even been notified of the appointment.
This report, issued just a few weeks ago, says something similar happened at a VA hospital in Georgia. The Office of Inspector General found more than 600 patients there had their cases improperly batch closed. The VA's way of saying they were closed in bulk without being seen.
It's not like I just sat there and did nothing about it. I tried.
Before contacting us, Letty Alonzo says she tried to warn top VA managers. Internal emails seem to back her claim. On May 27th, Ernest Jones, Letty's mentor at the VA, thanks VA patient advocate Michael Rosecrans and Chief of Staff Dr. Kent Crossley for listening to Miss Alonzo's issues, including delayed consults that could involve life-threatening issues. A week later, another email from Jones saying one of the patients was noted as having cancer symptoms. You sure as hell better hurry and do something or have something done ASAP.
How high up did you take this?
All the way to the director.
In this email, dated June 4th, Ernest Jones tells Letty, I called Mike, and he's going to tell the director, so be prepared for smoke and fire. When we showed him the emails, Director Patrick Kelly, the same man who told us there hadn't been allegations of secret wait lists here, acknowledged Letty did report problems.
With allegations of consults being delayed or never being done, did you know about this, and can you tell us what, if anything, was done?
I was aware that she had identified this as an issue to our patient advocate, and our patient advocate and our chief of staff reviewed those.
So what happened? The very next day, the VA hand-delivered this letter to Letty Alonso saying she was being fired for what she calls trumped-up charges. Patrick Kelly says the timing was just a coincidence. He says he can't discuss the details of Letty's case, but he says her claims about wait times were not verified.
The allegation was unfounded, unsubstantiated.
Were they thoroughly investigated?
I'm certain that they were, although I can't tell you that I know specifically what they were. But I can
So,
only tell you
what's the truth? Last month, our partners at USA Today uncovered internal VA documents exposing allegations of scheduling fraud, similar to what Letty and Heather described, serious enough to warrant more investigation at 109 VA medical centers across the country, including Minneapolis and Rochester. That investigation is underway.
Frankly, I welcome the review. I want to know what we're dealing with, and that'll help me to address it more comprehensively.
At the end of the day, you had veterans completely falling through the cracks.
Yes.
And I'm sure they still are.
It would be illegal for the women to show us copies of individual patient records, but they've already contacted federal investigators in Washington to report what they've seen and tell them where to look.
Are there people out there right now that have medical tests showing they have cancer that don't know because they weren't notified?
Yes.
Yes. It could be my dad. Could be anyone.
We showed you in the story how Letty was fired. The other whistleblower, Heather, was fired the day after we interviewed Director Kelly. The VA's Office of Special Counsel is now investigating their claims that they were retaliated against for blowing the whistle. Julie.
Fallout tonight from a KARE 11 News investigation into the Minneapolis VA Medical Center. Our report got the attention of a Minnesota congressman. Last night, we showed you how fraudulent medical records could be putting the health and lives of local veterans at risk.
AJ Legault gave us the exclusive report last night, and he's here now with an important follow-up. AJ?
Randy, Julie, today we heard from Minnesota Congressman Tim Walz responding to our investigation. In a letter to the acting inspector general of the VA, Walz writes, "If these allegations prove true, I was not given the full story from VA officials during my visit to facilities and during numerous interactions since. I'm requesting verification that the allegations from the story are being fully investigated by the Inspector General." Now tonight, our investigation continues as we hear from a veteran who pulled his own medical records to prove just what's going on.
There's trust. It's a matter of trust.
Ernest Jones, a Vietnam-era vet, says the Minneapolis VA violated his trust, breaking its own rules when it comes to patient care.
They lied. You know, the people that did that lied.
Jones' medical records show his doctor ordered a colonoscopy for him through the VA's gastroenterology department. They say Jones was supposed to get a letter explaining the importance of the exam and giving him a number to call and schedule the procedure. It's a letter Jones says he never received.
Never got a letter?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing at all.
That's not surprising, according to both of these former VA employees who helped schedule colonoscopies.
Some patients don't even get the letter that is supposed to be going out.
As we've reported earlier, Letty Alonso and Heather Rossback have filed this official complaint with the VA's Office of Inspector General, claiming that while working at the Minneapolis VA, they were ordered to falsify patient records, like Ernie's, to make it appear the GI clinic was meeting its performance goals.
And it's all about making the numbers look good, regardless if it's damaging people.
Straight up, you lied on documents?
Yes, I did.
Not only would letters not get sent, the women claim they were ordered to lie by putting in the computer system that veterans had been notified they needed medical care when they'd never been contacted.
They should be getting treatment, obviously.
Yes. But not knowing, how can they?
So what happened to Ernie's colonoscopy appointment? Well, Ernie's not just a vet. He also works for the VA.
Well, I've got, I didn't say I was, I have 29 years federal service.
And last December, he says he went to visit an old friend, Letty Alonso, who'd just been transferred into the GI department.
And I said, well, I was due for one, but I never got a call.
A check of Vista, the VA's computer system, revealed the truth. His colonoscopy had been canceled.
I just really was blindsided by it.
Jones' records show that 3 months after his letter was allegedly sent, his colonoscopy was canceled because he didn't call in. That's a violation of VA policy.
We're supposed to call them.
That's right. In black and white, VA guidelines state you must call the patient to ensure the patient knows about the appointment.
If it happened to me, believe me, it's happened to quite a few other people.
Letty Alonso says she was just beginning to discover what she describes as corrupt record keeping, designed to hide massive backlogs and delays in patient care.
I tried.
Emails show Letty tried, with Ernie's help, to get the situation fixed internally.
You tried going through channels to get this fixed.
I moved almost heaven and earth. In fact, I even sent an email to the chief of staff.
This is that email directed to VA patient advocate Michael Rosecrans and Chief of Staff Dr. Kent Crossley. Jones thanks them for listening to Miss Alonso's issues, including delayed consults that could involve life-threatening issues. A week later, Jones sent another email to Mike Rosecrans saying one of the patients was noted as having cancer symptoms. You sure as hell better hurry and do something.
They never responded.
The delays Letty and Ernie were concerned about are very similar to what in April the VA found contributed to 23 deaths at a dozen other VA facilities nationwide. Ernie wrote Letty an email saying, "We did the right thing," telling her if those problems were not reported to leadership, you could have gone to jail.
And I felt confident that everyone was going to come forward and say, oh my God, this is really going on, let's fix it.
But the VA apparently determined the appropriate fix was to fire Letty and Heather.
We spoke up, and as you can see, we're no longer there.
The women claim they were fired for trumped-up charges. Minneapolis VA Director Patrick Kelly said he couldn't discuss Letty's case.
I'm saying that her, and I'm going to talk about it generally because I can't talk about personnel actions.
But this letter says the Minnesota Department of Employment reviewed Letty's case and found there is no evidence to support the VA's claim she did something wrong.
And what about the whistleblower's claims about a big backlog of patients waiting for appointments? VA insiders tell KARE 11 there's currently a massive effort underway to go back and quietly identify veterans like Ernie who had their medical appointments improperly canceled and begin trying to reschedule them. Sources tell us so far they've identified more than 300 cases.
But when we originally questioned Patrick Kelly,
are there currently significant delays that you're trying to catch up on now?
No.
He told us he didn't know anything about it.
Is there any push right now for overtime or anything else in that GI department to get caught up on consults?
Not that I'm aware of.
But these two internal VA emails from July and August, before our interview with Director Kelly, show a supervisor was asked for volunteers to work overtime to help out with GI consult scheduling to make sure patients are contacted and scheduled. And the catch-up is still underway. This email shows they're trying to get 7 people to work overtime this coming Saturday, September 6th, scheduling for GI.
Well, I guess I shouldn't ask you because you're not the VA, but what's going to happen with this? I mean, is anybody going to do anything?
That's really the million-dollar question. President Obama just told veterans last week that when stuff like this is discovered, the people responsible will be held accountable. And Congressman Walz said the same thing to us in that letter. If you want to read the entire letter the Congressman sent to the Inspector General, you can do so at KARE11.com.
So, AJ, that local VA director said he didn't know about this overtime being worked in the GI department, but you showed him the emails, right? What did he say?
We sent those emails to his office today, and we got a response and we're told he was unaware of GI overtime requests, but is supportive of GI working overtime to meet patient care needs.
I'm sure we have not heard the last of this story. Good work, AJ. Thank you. Tonight, a continuing KARE 11 News investigation into allegations of appointment fraud and faked medical records at the Minneapolis VA Medical Center. Tonight's story is about a Minnesota veteran who passed away waiting to see a doctor. But some say his death could have been prevented had the VA done its job. Investigative reporter AJ Legault is here with more. AJ?
Julie, that veteran was a young Marine. Now his family is laying his death at the feet of the Minneapolis VA and questioning how a dead man can reschedule his own appointment.
So I enjoy looking through this book.
Lisa Riley has a book of his pictures,
He had a lot of pictures.
but not her son to hug.
I really cherish this book because all I have is pictures now.
Corporal Jordan Beisman was a Marine Corps videographer who occasionally stepped in front of the camera.
Keep watching for your latest Quantico news.
Jordan was medically retired from the Corps after developing epilepsy and suffering a series of seizures.
He wanted to spend and retire in the military, and he would have if he had not developed epilepsy.
Returning home to Minnesota,
He was so funny.
the 24-year-old with the goofy grin saw a neurologist at the Minneapolis VA in June of 2012. Medical records show the neurologist was somewhat concerned with his condition and wrote if Jordan had any breakthrough events, they may consider an increase in his medicine. Jordan was instructed to contact the neurologist if there are any changes. Jordan's mom, Lisa, says that change happened a few months later in late September.
So it would have been, 9:25.
Jordan had a serious seizure that landed him in the ER. His mother says it took him nearly 2 weeks to get in to see his primary care doctor at the St. Cloud VA.
And the general practitioner did see him then, but didn't feel that he could deal with his epilepsy, so told him that he needed to schedule an appointment down at the VA in Minneapolis.
The VA's own policy says the goal for getting a patient into a specialty clinic like neurology is 14 days. Records obtained by his family show Jordan called the Minneapolis VA Neurology Clinic October 12th asking for an appointment. A week later, Jordan got this letter in the mail.
Stated that he has an appointment at the VA on December 20th, which would have been approximately 70 days.
70 days.
70 days. Yeah. 70 days just is too long.
What's more, the letter says it was confirming the appointment, making it seem like that's the date Jordan requested.
He did not get a say in it at all.
That 70-day wait would be too long for Jordan Beisman. He died November 26, 2012, 24 days before his appointment to see a neurologist.
Here's his death certificate.
Cause of death, seizure disorder. Could his death have been prevented? A professor of neurology and director of the Epilepsy Center at NYU reviewed Jordan's case for his family. The doctor's medical opinion is if Jordan had received more rapid referral to a neurological, it would have prevented his death. And if Jordan had been seen more expeditiously and had medications change, there's a more than 50% chance he would be alive now.
More than 50%. That's pretty good odds that if he'd have seen a doctor, he'd be here today.
Not only was Jordan Beisman forced to wait too long to see a doctor, his medical records may be evidence of how the VA was manipulating scheduling data to hide the truth about long delays for veterans needing care.
It really makes me angry.
Remember, Jordan died on Monday, November 26th. But 4 days after his death, on the following Friday, November 30th, someone wrote in these official VA records that Jordan Beisman canceled his neurology appointment scheduled in late December and, as amazing as it may seem, requested another date. The scheduler tentatively entered January 17th. Since VA schedulers are supposed to enter changes immediately, Jordan's mom questions how her son could have canceled his appointment and asked to reschedule it from the grave.
Heads need to roll and butts need to be fired.
Why would the VA cancel and reschedule Jordan's appointment and claim it was done at his request? A number of VA insiders tell KARE 11 that it's been common practice to cook the books this way in order to meet performance measures.
And this memo shows it's apparently been going on for years. Back in 2010, VA headquarters warned about inappropriate scheduling practices that will not be tolerated. Among them, visits being canceled by the clinic, but put in the computer as canceled by the patient.
So it doesn't look like we're the ones that are causing the delay. It looks like the patient wants that delay.
In our previous reports, we told you how these whistleblowers who scheduled patients in the gastroenterology department at the Minneapolis VA had filed a formal complaint with the VA's Inspector General claiming they were ordered to falsify records, canceling appointments in the computer without telling veterans the appointments even existed.
Let's say right now you had a positive polyp, I would turn around and sometimes instructed by my manager say notified patient didn't want further treatment.
And that wouldn't be true.
No, when in reality it was that the patient's never even been notified of the appointment.
Whistleblowers tell us because they cooked the books, their bosses at the VA were able to make presentations like this one to members of Congress. It claims established patients like Jordan Beisman got their appointments quickly, within 14 days of when they wanted them, 93% of the time.
70-day wait's not acceptable.
Not acceptable.
After seeing what Carol Levin discovered, a veteran dying while the VA made him wait to see a doctor, and then the VA claiming he requested a further delay after he was already dead, Congressman Eric Paulson is now questioning the VA's data and demanding answers.
Action needs to be taken. There need to be consequences.
For Lisa Riley, the mom left holding just a book of pictures, this is not a story about manipulated data. It's a story about a son, a brother, a friend, a Marine who lost his life when the odds show he could have been saved.
I don't know if you have kids, but would you take that chance? Would you take 50%? I would.
Jordan's family has filed a wrongful death claim against the VA, and we asked the VA to comment on Jordan's case. They wouldn't, but did send us a list of hypothetical, what they call plausible reasons for his appointment being canceled after he was already dead.
Tonight at 10, new developments in a KARE 11 News investigation. Could your tax dollars be paying for big bonuses based on falsified records?
That's what A.J. Legault is exposing tonight as he continues to dig into the local Veterans Administration, and he has more on that. A.J.?
Yeah, KARE 11 News has learned that the FBI has already started interviewing whistleblowers who claim that patient records were falsified to cover up life-threatening delays. The question now, were some top VA officials here and across the country raking in big cash bonuses based on those phony numbers?
He died while the Minneapolis VA made him wait to see his doctor.
70 days just is too long.
And adding insult to not just injury, but death, VA records claim Marine Corporal Jordan Beisman contacted them from the grave to ask for a further delay. Beisman had epilepsy and was suffering from seizures. His last would be fatal. An independent expert says Beisman could have been saved if he'd been seen more expeditiously.
I think it's shameful that people have cooked the books and done other things to not serve veterans.
Since our report on Jordan Beisman's death first aired, there's been a national outcry.
And we are not going to stop.
From veterans groups to Congress.
Corporal Beisman and listening to his mother, it'll break your heart, as it should, and it shouldn't, it doesn't have to be this way.
This way. A way that, according to the VA's own memos, includes cooking the books by canceling appointments and falsely claiming it was done at veterans like Jordan Beisman's request, all in order to create a false impression of quality, timely health care for veterans.
He was only 25 years old. He deserved to live his life.
How did it get this way? VA whistleblowers sum it up in one word.
Bonuses.
Bonuses Congress felt were so extravagant they held a hearing on them in June.
We're going to examine the outlandish bonus culture at the VA.
The VA was awarding bonuses in part based on how well hospitals met scheduling standards. The standard used to be 30 days to get a veteran a medical appointment. In 2011, that standard was shortened to 14 days. And that's when the train seems to have left the tracks. In late June, White House staff presented President Obama this report detailing the VA's corrosive culture. The report says the 14-day scheduling standard may have incentivized inappropriate actions. May have?
It's more about numbers.
Try definitely did, says former Minneapolis VA employees.
Numbers is all that really counts, not the veterans' lives.
Patients became numbers, and numbers translate to dollars in the pocket.
According to VA's own data, over $2.8 million was paid out in performance awards to senior executives for FY13.
That's just last year. KARE 11 obtained VA data for the past 7 years and found nearly $23 million in bonuses paid to top executives. But now the question is, how much of that was awarded based on manipulated data?
We were being instructed to manipulate and continue the manipulation. And
So who made the most in bonuses? Here in Minnesota, no one comes close to this woman.
So I'm Jan Murphy, and I'm the network director for the VA Midwest Healthcare Network.
Janet Murphy oversees VA hospitals across the Midwest, from regional headquarters in the Twin Cities.
And I am accountable for what happens in this network.
On top of her $176,000 a year salary, she's made $99,465 in bonuses since '07.
And $100,000 as a bonus to retain someone who's not seeing veterans, you find somebody to me who can justify that.
We wanted to let Murphy justify it. At a recent VA town hall meeting, she said this.
I talk to anybody who calls me.
But when we called,
Janet Murphy, please.
We were told she was not available and would likely not be available at any point to talk with us. The former Minneapolis VA director, Stephen Kleinglass, was another recipient of big bonuses. He was paid a salary of $180,000 a year, and from 2007 to 2010, he received $76,000 in bonuses. He retired at the end of 2011 and was given an additional award of nearly $63,000.
And the VA is continuously saying we need more money. We need more money for more doctors. We need more money for more nurses. We need money for computers. You've got money.
The House Committee on Veterans Affairs provided us with figures showing the VA awarded to all of its employees more than $278 million in bonuses and various incentives in 2013 alone.
If those bonuses were given out, taxpayer money, under false pretenses, when in fact records were being doctored or it wasn't true, I don't think that's right.
Senator Klobuchar is now the co-sponsor on legislation receiving strong bipartisan support to make VA employees who receive bonuses pay them back if it's shown they contributed to falsifying waitlist records.
We're going to have to get that money back if it's proven that they did that.
While some of the bonuses may end up being paid back, what can't be given back is the days and weeks and months veterans have been forced to wait for care. Some of them, like Jordan Beisman, couldn't wait.
I miss hearing his voice.
Long enough.
Sorry.
In one of his last actions before resigning under fire, former VA Secretary Eric Shinseki suspended the awarding of bonuses for 2014 and ordered that patient wait times no longer be a part of employee performance reviews. Julie?
Well, we did talk about the former Minneapolis VA director and his bonus. The current director, was it suspended before he was able to receive a bonus?
Well, yeah, he actually has not received any bonus. Patrick Kelly is the current director over at the Minneapolis VA. He was appointed in June of 2013, and there's no record that he's received any of the performance bonuses that are now in question. I can tell you this, right before I walked in here on set, I learned that the FBI will be interviewing additional Minneapolis VA employees tomorrow.
All right.